And certainly Somtow would have missed his whole panel if I hadn't pinged him because he was completely confused on times.
New Zealand was a challenge. I did quite a bit of programming for Worldcon, and I had a chart. I figured I had this little computer app and a chart and everything. It was complicated.
Yeah, I just figured all you guys with smartphones would just tell your smartphone, tell me at 2 o'clock that I need to go do it now.
But that's just the thing is like, do you write down the time there or the time here? And then I do one or the other and then I forget. Like the one time I did screw up a time change, but it was Central Time. It was like 1 hour is how I screwed it up. Like how does that happen? You know, I got all the New Zealand stuff exactly right. It was Ohio I couldn't handle.
Now that's interesting. We just got a chat from Valerie to all panelists and attendees. So is it completely open chat, CJ?
I think Meg opened up the room, so we're public now. Yeah. Watch your language.
Well, some programs, the chat, they have to go to Q&A if they're an attendee.
Well, you can do both.
And not to chat.
As an attendee, you can do both, but the Q&A is kind of set up so that only the seminar people can actually see that.
Oh, okay. I'm still learning all the ins and outs.
Yeah, it's fidgety.
All right, yay. So yeah, we're gonna start more on time than I ran out on the thing so I could go to the wedding. The one they said was gonna start at 2:45 was when they actually started walking down the aisle. All right then.
There are similarities between virtual and in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Starting Twitch in 1 minute.
Okay. And then I can get some more caffeine and start twitching now.
I did caffeine all day today, and now I'm on to alcohol.
There's caffeinated alcohol now. There has been for a long time.
Yeah.
There always has been. You're faithful Irish whiskey. You can make it yourself.
Coffee liqueur and everything. All right, I think we're probably almost about live. All right, we are now streaming live. Welcome. I hope there are a number of you here for the MileHiCon 52 virtual masquerade, which we are delighted to have 10 wonderful costumes to show you, which we will be starting 10. How many is
9?
9?
9.
Yeah.
No way. Somebody pulled their costume out at the last minute. Sad. So I counted and there was 10, but.
I had Z's in there to begin with, but in case we needed it for filler, but because it was just a store-bought costume, I didn't put it in the final version.
Oh, I would have left it in because this year, as we all know, things are very different. We offered you all the chance to do stuff in your backyard with animals and pyrotechnics. Nobody took me up on that, but we do have some interesting videos of people and at least one person said they love this because it gave them a chance to completely freak out their neighbors. So, we aim to please, and we will aim to please you too.
I have a question, Rose. I know you put together a retrospective of costumes from MileHiCon's past. Where can people go to find that?
For that, I don't know if it's moved over to the 52 website, but on just the regular MileHiCon website, there's a cosplay gallery. And, as far as I'm concerned, people could keep sending them in. It's for both past MileHiCons, past other conventions. I was digging deep into my archives. There's some pictures there from MileHiCon 6.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
I have a couple I can send you. I should do that.
Totally.
Let me make myself a note.
And I figure, what the heck, we've got, oh, hey, it's Cordelia. We've got space to do it and some great costumes that I think people would like to see and share. And Why not?
Facebook has been showing me pictures. My friend and I did Crowley and Aziraphale last year, and the pictures have started popping back up. So I'm very proud of that costume that we did. So I may send that to you.
Cool. And I just got a quick ping saying that, yeah, they are also on the 52 website under something. They're on the 52 website under the cosplay tab. So yeah, check them out. And sometime maybe Cordelia can send stuff in too, because she's a winner from San Diego Comic-Con. CJ, you want to introduce our fabulous judges here?
Certainly. Except I hadn't pulled up the notes, but our judges here are Carrie Vaughn and Cordelia Willis, who's also showing up as Carrie Vaughn on the Zoom call.
I don't know why.
Okay. Apologies, I pull up something to read here.
They're like cousins, identical cousins. Which one of you is the British one?
Right.
All right, well, we will start with Cordelia here. Cordelia Willis entered her first masquerade in 1979, dressing as Pee-wee from Have Spacesuit Will Travel, and regularly participated in the MileHiCon masquerades in the 1980s. In recent years, she's participated in the San Diego Comic-Con masquerade 17 times, with her groups winning Best in Show 3 times.
And I still remember you being one of Carl Sagan's wives.
Oh, yes. We actually did that. Well, my dad was Carl Sagan several years. And yes, I was one of his wives in one of the masquerades we did.
All right. And, our other judge this evening is Carrie Vaughn, the official costume designer and builder for her 8-year-old niece, Emery. This year for Halloween, Emery is dressing as Dr. Beverly Crusher. Photos forthcoming.
I just got the first look. Everything fits.
Oh,
Emery lives in
lovely.
Oregon, so we do it all long distance, and it's gonna look so awesome. I can't wait for it to show everybody. Anyway, yes, go on, carry on.
Which of her costumes did you say was most challenging to do? Obviously, you're really excited about Beverly, but is it the most challenging?
I have been making Emery's costumes since she was this big, and I'm convinced that even when she was like 3, she's like, how can I challenge Aunt Carrie this year? So it's hard to say which one is the most challenging, because she's sort of picked a different challenge like every year. So a couple of years ago was the fursuit. She wanted to be Crookshanks, Hermione's cat. So I did a fursuit, which I had never done before. But the year before that, she wanted to be Hey Hey, the chicken from Moana. There's if you're on my Facebook page or my blog, there's pictures up there of that. And that was like, how am I going to do Hey Hey? I don't know. Let's figure this out. And she kind of goes back and forth. This year, the challenge was tailoring, which I am not good at. I just haven't really practiced it or have much experience with it. But those next generation uniforms, they have to look good, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm learning. I learn something new every year making costumes for Emery. We're a pretty good team right now.
That's the role of nieces, I think, to get you to learn things.
Yep.
Absolutely. I've made several costumes for my nieces, and one year my niece wanted to be Arwen from Lord of the Rings, and I said, well, which costume do you want? And she said, well, can I just pick my own colors? And I said, sure. And she said, okay, well, I want the sleeves to be like pink and purple, and then I want the rest of it to be rainbow. And so I did, and it was a very original Arwen costume, but she loved it and wore it as long as she could until she grew out of it. So
that's the heartbreaking part, is they grow out of them very fast at this age. So it's like you get one Halloween.
Yeah, maybe 2. And she has a younger sister. So the younger sister would then luckily be able to take over. So.
Well, that is the lucky thing about being in fandom. You don't have to wear it just at one Halloween and you're done.
Right.
As Barry Longyear said of his crazy shirt, we had the at his MileHiCon, we did the Hawaiian shirt opening ceremonies, and he had this gorgeous thing with a huge dragon coiling all over it. And he'd said, yeah, you know, he really wondered when he bought it, you know, but he said, you know, when you're in fandom means never having to say, but when would I wear it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's, I'm trying to get Emery out to more conventions so we can wear her costumes a few more times.
Right. And I mean, we could do all kinds of fun anecdotes. I mean, I could grill
Yeah.
Cordelia on her Lord of the Rings group costume and the fallout of that. And
Yeah.
maybe after this is all over, if people want to stick around after we're going to do the masquerade. You're going to have a chance to vote for audience favorite. So be keeping an eye. We're going to run it through once, have a little bit of chit chat, announce the awards, run it a second time with the behind the DVD extras with our judges. And then at the end, maybe we'll just kind of talk costumes for a while until, you know, MileHiCon 7 Zoomer kicks us off. Sound good? Everybody?
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right. Well, we are here for the masquerade. CJ as our, and I want to tell everybody, CJ put together this wonderful presentation. I mean, I would still rather see it in person, don't get me wrong, but it is a fabulous presentation. So take it away, CJ.
All right, I'm just going to throw the and
What's rubble? What does Rocky say?
Green means go!
open the front gate and close it behind me, looking down but not back. The sidewalk is the landscape I focus on, a field of oblongs gently undulating where the earth beneath has buckled from decade after decade of winter frost. Sidewalks are kept much cleaner than they used to be. I walk to the corner and wait. I used to be bad at waiting. They also serve who only stand and wait, said Aunt Lydia. She made us memorize it. She also said, not all of you will make it through. Some of you will fall on dry ground or thorns. Some of you are shallow-rooted. She said, think of yourselves as seeds. And right then her voice was wheedling, conspiratorial, like the voices of those women who used to teach ballet to children, and who would say, arms up in the air now, let's pretend we're trees. I stand on the corner, pretending I am a tree.
All right. I don't have any music for this, so feel free to talk over it, or the poll just popped up.
All right. Well, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much for putting that together.
Thank you. The rest of the slides in the show are kind of more details about it.
Mm-hmm.
On my screen, the poll just popped up in front of it, so everyone can have a chance to vote now. Or we can go through them and talk over it, look at all the details. I will leave it up to the judges and my co-host.
I think it's kind of handy to, you know, let it run here where people can say, oh yeah, that's what that one was. I remember now. I mean, even when it's only a couple, it's easy to forget. And so this way people can have a chance to look, and if they, or they may have already decided what they want, they've already wanted to vote. You know, it's like early voting. Want to run right out there and vote for their one they know. But
yeah, and I don't know if the costumers are actually here with us now, but if anybody has any questions for how they did what they did, or any details on their costume, now would be a really good time to ask. I see we have one question in the Q&A already.
yeah, someone is asking, well, they were saying it would be great to see it again. And yeah, we will be rerunning it a little later because we can. But
yeah, this has been a really interesting time, because on the one hand, I really wanted to see all of these live. You know, pictures sometimes just aren't the same, but at the same time, when we have pictures and video and things, we can look at it over and over again. We don't just get one chance, we get multiple chances. And you know, maybe people who wouldn't otherwise enter a costume contest in person may get a chance to show off their costumes in this kind of format. So I go back and forth on it, that there are some benefits to doing it this way.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I figured that's the advantage of continuing the cosplay galleries indefinitely. Oh, you don't want to
Yeah.
like actually wear it? It's like send it in, send it in. I mean, I arm twisted so many people. I know you got a great costume, send it in. You know, and some did, and some I just said, well, you know, I've got a picture of it. If you don't like really say something, I'm gonna put it up.
Things like that Skeksis are so
Oh.
iconic.
Yeah.
Everybody just instantly knows what it is. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and I really like that with both the Skeksis and the Handmaid's Tale, their photos or their video where it's, in the appropriate setting. So it's not just a costume, in front of their wall or whatever. It's a costume in the setting. And I think that it adds so much to the costumes when you do take your photos there in the setting. It makes them come alive so much more.
It does. I know that some people have limited options, especially this year.
Well, right
for
now,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah, if there is any of the costumers or people who built them or whatever in the audience, maybe let us know that in chat, and then or raise your hand or something. And Meg is going to give you the chance to come talk if you raise your hand through that and say. But yeah, I don't know if Jessica's here. She's down in Albuquerque, and I know they've got stuff going on right now, but and of course the Clarizios, I don't know if they have to be it's early, they don't have to be in bed yet. So, and we've got a couple of questions about, if if a Vera cosplay is here, we've got several compliments for the Isira costume, and people would love to know how she did that. So.
And this is something I've observed over the last few years. Like when I started in high school, there was nothing out there, basically. You go to the fabric store and you just did your best. The companies didn't have patterns. There was just really nothing out there. And now there are so many patterns and tutorials and materials, and just there's so much available now that wasn't 20 or 30 years ago, that I'm just constantly amazed at what people are able to put together, the level of detail and just the level of authenticity that just wasn't available to us. Like I remember I ride horses, so I had the English riding boots. So I'm like, I'll put together a Han Solo outfit because I've already got the boots, right? And that was the thinking 20 years ago, but now it's completely different. The bar is so high right now that I just respect everybody who puts on a costume and puts themselves out there. It's just so great.
Well, and also nowadays you can stream stuff. You can take, still captures. I remember I kept going to Moulin Rouge over and over to sketch the costumes because they're, other than, the few publicity stills that were out there in the old days, you could only see the costume if you went to the movie. And so literally I had my little light up pen and I would sit there and I'd be like, okay, let me draw this. Oh, that's the back. Okay, let me draw that real quick. And you can tell you're a real costumer if you're excited when the person turns around. Because your customers are like, yes, that's the back of Mary's coat. And you haven't seen it for 2 whole movies, but it's finally in Return of the King. Yes, we got it right, or whatever. So I think you can really, but nowadays so often you can freeze frame. You can go online, you can see stills, and you can really get a lot more details than you used to be able to.
Oh.
I love your Aowen costume, Cordelia.
Oh, thank you. So I made, well, I can't say I made all of the chainmail, because what I had done was I was working on it and they were aluminum rings, but they actually were, I put them together, and I knew that I was going to have a lot of time over Christmas when I was staying with my parents in Colorado, that, you know, we just sit around at Christmas and watch TV and stuff. So it's like, okay, so I mailed a whole bunch of the chains to myself or to my parents' house in Colorado. And then I sat there while I was home and made it. And my dad got really interested and he was like, oh, well, I'll help you. And I was like, okay. So he was helping me make little bits and stuff. Well, then after Christmas, I was like, okay, just, you know, mail it back to me when you have time, you know, the rings that are left. Well, my dad decided that he couldn't send the rings back until all the rings that I'd sent were actually made up. And so my mom said, your father has been staying up till 2 a.m. every night working on the chain mail so he can send it back. And I was like, he doesn't have to. I just, you know, it didn't fit in my suitcase. And she was like, no, he really wants to do this. So basically, I would say, I think 1/4 of my skirt was my dad making that chainmail, but I made the rest of it. So it was all Willis made, but part of it was my dad being a good dad and wanting to help his daughter. So, but yeah, it was great. We did all of the armor costumes. Well, there were 6 armor costumes from Lord of the Rings we did. And one of the nice things about working with other people who costume is that you can trade off and work on each other's skills. So I'm really good at like not having a pattern and just making fabric costumes. And my friend was really good at making like the, you know, doing the craft stuff. So making the helmet and everything. So I made all of her, she was Mary, and I made all of her fabric pieces for the Mary armor. And then she made my helmet for me. And anyway, and it's one of my favorite costumes ever because the helmet just turned out so amazing. And it's actually made out of a baseball batting helmet is the base of it. And then I had actually done the basic outlines in plastic. So I put that on, and then my friend added all of this paper clay and carved it and sculpted it and everything and painted it. And it's just, I love it so much and stuff. So it's nice when you can work with other people and use their strengths and then they can use yours. So
that's fantastic.
That is. I was also going to say, I love when I see someone make a costume that I would not have expected to see, like a bird from a Bosch painting.
Well, I was gonna say, and just some of the hall costumes that, you know, some of them might go, no, you should also be in the thing, because like I love that the eye costume, the big triangle eye that Audrey.
Oh, the one that Audrey did last year?
Yes, I love that. Totally.
Yeah.
It was just simple.
I'll have to find that and throw it into the past photos gallery.
Yep. So Jessica, do you have a camera, or are you just gonna lurk there quietly?
I don't know that it had an option for me to turn on a camera. It just has the volume microphone.
Huh, doesn't have the mute and stop video off in the corner?
No, it just has mute. I think because I'm not a
Sorry, Jessica will be back in just a moment. I promoted her to panelist and forgot that that was going to force her to log in.
Ah.
Yeah, it did force me to.
Sorry, Jessica.
No,
And she's
no, it's fine. And like I said in the comments, I actually had a lot of fun with this. Rose had contacted me and asked, you know, if I would do it. And she's like, any costume? And I'm like, I don't know what I have that still fits.
right.
So, I'll be honest about that part. I don't know what I have that still fits. Quarantine.
It's the COVID-19, right?
Yeah.
No, it's the massive doses of antihistamines that I'm on. But you know, either way. So I was happy. A costume fit, and B, like I said, my neighbors were like looking at us out the window, like, what is she doing? Except for my next door neighbor who came out and was like, that's awesome. You're gonna make me one, right? I'm like, I'll make you one. You know,
Yeah.
I still want to know, did you tell her you were of Craig?
No. Stop calling me that, Rose. You know, she called me up, Craig. Craig, of course, is over there going, what'd she call you? What's happening? Anyway, so yeah, just it was a lot of fun. I hope everybody else had just as much fun as I did doing it. It's been stressful, so it was nice to go out and do something a little different. Scare all of the neighbors who were like,
Right.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Well, I loved as I said earlier, I loved the photos in the locations. That totally makes the costume even more important. So,
Well, I figured it was much better to go do it out on the street than it was in my living room with 11 bajillion pops and books in the
right.
background.
What are you talking about? I don't have a,
So,
I
Jessica,
know,
none of us have crazy
I don't
houses.
know.
Yeah.
okay, so two things here. Looks like everyone's voted, so we're going to close that out. If you haven't done it, do it. And we've got a question. Would you tell us a bit about how you made your costume, Jessica?
Oh, how I made my costume? To be quite honest, I'm very much of the Cordelia school of if it's made out of fabric, I can figure it out. So I had a cloak pattern from years ago that a friend wanted a very specific cloak, and she said it's this and waved a pattern in my face and then let me keep the pattern after I made it for her. So I was like, yeah, that's pretty much the handmaid's cloak from the TV show if you look at the photos. And then I had similar dress patterns that I just modified to put in long sleeves and extended the skirt. So, you know, I am very much of that school. I've done stuff that's not fabric, but it's not my strong suit. Yeah.
Oh, and so what did you do to stiffen the coif?
Oh, it's just I didn't even think about that. It's just the really thick fusible not batting, the other stuff.
Interfacing.
Yeah. Thank you. That's the word I want. It's just really thick fusible facing. It's nice because it'll take a beating and reshape. So like it's currently being stored in a tote bag with a bunch of other smaller costume pieces because I can fold it down and then I pull it out and, you know, go like this a few times and it's perfectly round again. And it just ties in the back so it'll maintain the shape of your head because of the curve.
Yeah,
I will say
able to pack it is very good because yeah, sometimes you make costumes and you're like, okay, this is great, but it's now this big, and how am I ever gonna get this into a suitcase or whatever?
Oh, I know. The MileHiCon several years ago, I entered with friends. We did for Tinkerbell from Despicable Me 2, and I made Kennard's wings for him. And then realized they would not fit in my car to go to Denver. So I had to call Kristen and Kennard. They had to come down from Santa Fe, which, you know, for those who don't know, is between Albuquerque and Denver, to pick up the wings because they would fit in Kristen's SUV. Because I just didn't even think about a way to make them collapsible at all, the way they were made. And they're 6 feet wide. And with all the other stuff, we could not get them in the car in a way that wasn't going to just completely crush them.
Yeah, well, I'm always having to travel for San Diego Comic-Con. My first thought is always, how can this be broken down and get on an airplane? So I spend a lot of time at Home Depot with PVC pipe and then the little connectors. And then,
oh yeah, I mean, my Princess Agnes pony like completely came apart and collapsed and fit in the car perfectly. I was not initially going to make the wings.
Right.
You know, Kristen was going to make the dress and the wings, and I was going to make all his, like his little crown and his wand and bring the wig and stuff. And I just, something happened and she was like, could you make the wings? I was like, yeah, sure. I got, you know, fence wire, which is what they usually use for those wings. And I just made them, and I didn't think about making them to fold so they would fit in the car.
Yeah, those of you who've looked on the cosplay galleries, my mom had this giant propeller beanie costume that she wore back way long ago. And it's like, that thing did not fold up. She's there and it's like, it's huge. That was in my closet for a long time until I finally took pictures of it and passed it onto the universe. So it looks like we have an award for the audience favorite, which was kind of cool to be able to do that. It was Ysera. Am I pronouncing that right? Those of you who do World of Warcraft? Yes, Sarah, by Avira Cosplay. Fabulous costume. And I don't know, do we want to announce the awards and then run it a
I was gonna
second
say,
time through and do commentary?
yeah,
with the judges?
those are the next few slides on here. I was just waiting for us to have our conversation, and but yeah, we
Are
can
there any
get
of
to
the
the award.
Are there any other contestants? Is Avira Cosplay with us? I feel like, you know, a medium. It's like, if Avira is here, knock twice. Perhaps not.
Perhaps not, but we can go ahead and check out our
Reveal
judges
our,
awards.
reveal our winners.
Our first award is for the best original design, and that goes to Fun with Fluth by Nate Leba. Do our judges have anything to say on this?
I think we really thought that the design, it was well put together, a lot of detail. I love the hat with the butterfly and everything. The colors just went really well together. And you know, I mean, I personally always do recreations, but original designs, sometimes they just, you know, it really shows they're not only making a costume, but they're also kind of making a work of art because they're designing a costume themselves. And so I think we just were impressed with the how it was all put together.
Yeah, I think each piece was well thought out, but the way that they all worked together was just really pleasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody mentioned in the comments, it's like they love the teacup holster.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that and the detail on the blouse, you know, the buttons going up the front and the pattern, you know, when you haven't done this, but when you start designing outfits like this, you know, every little thing is a decision that goes into it. You know, the print on the fabric, the trim at the bottom of the skirt, you know, just every little thing is a decision. And when it all comes together like that, it's just really nice.
Right. And there's like trim at the base of the sleeves. And so, you know, that ties in, and the base of the blouse and everything. So yeah, as she said, everything's a decision. With recreation, it's, you know, it's different things that you're fighting with. You're trying to get the right color and the right pattern and everything. But with original, you're actually having to make artistic designs or artistic decisions. So.
All right. And our other judged award is the Best in Show, which this year goes to Isira by Avera Cosplay.
So yeah, I've done one masquerade with lights, putting lights in a costume, and it is no easy task. So you know, all of the details of the costume were great, but having those lights in there, totally, you know, that's a whole other level and a whole other skill set that you have to bring to the costume, and you have to kind of plan in advance, how am I going to wire this and put this all together? You can't just say at the end, ooh, I think I'll add lights to my costume. It has to be part of the initial design.
You know, question here, was this before LEDs? And it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, I think the costume has probably been made in the last couple of years, and LEDs have been around for a while. So, but even with LEDs, you have to still kind of plan, right?
I mean, the challenge is the wiring and the battery, you know, where you put the battery, and the fact that we don't know, you know, like there's a battery somewhere on that costume and we don't know where it is. But yeah, the level of detail and the way that it all gets integrated. Yeah, wearable LEDs is totally a thing. And there's companies out there who have a lot of options for that. You know, what I was talking about a little earlier with just, you know, there's so many more options now, but integrating it is the challenge. You know, the materials are out there, but how do you integrate it all together into one costume? And this one, you know, it's not just the costume, it's the makeup and the hair and the wig and the ears. and just the way it all works together.
Yeah. And, anytime you're making something that has to stand up, I mean, just making like in Jessica's costume, just making the thing that stands up is hard enough, but to try to make like horns that stand up, that don't make your head fall off and, don't come crashing
Or don't
down.
melt in the heat because it's Wonderflex.
And
or
that
something.
too,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, anytime you're adding body parts as part of a costume, that's going to take a lot of structural, structural
And
engineering.
Exactly. And someone's talking about L-wire, which is what a lot of people do use in their costumes now to make them let it, but it's still not the easiest stuff to work with if you don't know what you're doing. I've played with it a little bit. It's not intuitive.
Still a challenge.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I will say, and I'm sure that, well, both Cordy and Carrie do this in a lot of your costuming, something that I always notice are the people that can throw in the performative. Even if it's nothing more than walking across the stage, but doing it as your character, not just like, I'm going to walk across really fast because people are looking at me.
Right.
And I really defeats the purpose.
Yeah, I really liked in Yasira's video that, they had the moon, the moon staff, and then twirled it around so the face was in the circle of the moon staff. I mean, that was just very well done. Obviously, probably not done with a selfie stick. That's the sort of thing when you're trying to line stuff up, you're going to have someone be recording you. But that, that was very much in character. I thought the video did a good job of showing the character. So
sometimes as a viewer at the Masquerade, as soon as I get it's like, oh, please slow down, turn around. It's like, and they're gone. I'm going, man, that was a really cool costume. But I want to throw what's the Harry Potter spell where they like lock up. When I was like, lock them up for 3 seconds. They just have to stand there so I can see the costume.
Well, when I first started doing masquerades, as I said, I started in 1979. I was 10 years old. Back then it was, in like a small, a super small room in the hotel, and everything was done live. And it would be, a couple stormtroopers, which back then to just see a stormtrooper out in the wild was like amazing. Now they're everywhere, but back then it was super cool. So there was always like a fairy, a stormtrooper, a few other things like that. And yeah, like you said, most of them would just kind of walk across the stage. And so what my dad and I did, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Willis is my dad. He and I, while my mom would be off on her writing panels, we'd be like, well, we've got nothing to do. Let's come up with an idea for the masquerade. And oftentimes we would not come up with our idea until we got to the masquerade or until we got to the con. And then we'd rush to the Goodwill and see what we could throw together and, frantically pin everything together and then come up with a presentation. So oftentimes, as we said, my dad was Carl Sagan and I was one of his wives, and we did a presentation because one of the things was Carl Sagan had a bunch of wives, and he was always, his trademark thing was billions
and billions.
And so we'd be like, yes, billions and billions of wives. And so then each of us would come out, and then, we'd be like wife number one, and then we'd rip the sign and walk to the side. And, and so our stuff was always, the costumes themselves were super simple, but we were doing something with it. And so we pretty much always won best presentation because no one else had a presentation. Everyone else just walked across, and we were just get up there and make fools of ourselves. One year,
you were so funny. You were so funny.
So one year I won Judge's Choice at MileHiCon, because I was a showgirl from Las Vegas, and I made the showgirl costume, and then I sang Gleeblorfs Are a Girl's Best Friend to, of course, the tune of Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend. But I made up all these alien words and just hammed it up. And anyway, so that was an actual costume we made before the con. amazingly. But yeah, for us, it was always about the performance. And I mean, I love costumes. I love wearing costumes. I love making costumes, but I like doing things in the costumes, and I like putting them in their natural settings for photos and for videos, and then doing things. So that's kind of what my background is.
All right. Our other award is the Audience Award, which I think we already discussed earlier, went to Sarah. But so thank you for everyone who voted on that. We appreciate your participation. And then I believe the plan is to run through the presentation again so that people can see it, either with a fresh pair of eyes or just latecomers.
And if they've seen it enough,
will
they can always,
kick
you know,
that off.
go out to the con suite. That's an option. But be thinking about next year. I mean, hopefully we'll be back IRL, but if we're not back in real life, we'll be doing this again. So plan one way or the other to do something. It's fun.
Can I, as a programming director, prevail upon you, Cordelia, to come to next year so we can put you on some costuming panels?
We'll see.
Yeah, once we don't have COVID, you need to come see your parents. So
I
you might
know.
as well do it in October.
There you go.
Unless you're involved
Yeah.
unless you're involved with blood spatter at that time.
Exactly.
Or drugs. So somebody just says best virtual masquerade presentation yet. How was now San Diego just canceled this year, or did it, Cordelia?
I know they did some stuff. They had people submit either photos or videos, and then they put them up, but they didn't put them together in a single thing like this. That's what I thought they were gonna do. I thought it was gonna be something like this, and instead they just kind of put them on a page so you could scroll through. But my group, we didn't enter, but because we had a presentation that we had planned, but obviously we couldn't get together and do it and perform it. But we all got together virtually and watched all the videos together, so we could kind of experience the masquerade even though we weren't there.
I don't know if CJ, I don't know if you saw Jin's thing. She says, "Oh, I think I mislabeled my girls." So before this goes up on YouTube, this is the mermaid, and then Francesca did the Moon Princess.
Okay.
But Jin is saying,
I
"Oh, I
didn't see that, not yet.
mislabeled. I mislabeled." So I will change the certificates. So everybody who went to all the work to be in, you're all going to get a little certificate. And Valerie is asking what software you used to create the thing. It was PowerPoint, right? Kind of.
Well, the majority of it is PowerPoint. This video part that was done in Final Cut Pro, just because as a video editor by trade, that's what I know. And so I was able to put everything into that and then just make the second slide of the PowerPoint the video.
And Jin just popped up. Actually, it's the name and the costume goes with the other one. So.
Oh, okay.
So that's okay. We will
just the photos got us put in the wrong folder at some point.
Yeah, which does make sense because I thought.
But yeah, I will get that fixed before
mermaid,
we put a final of this online.
Yeah. So. Yeah, the work on the Skeksis is. I really wish I could see it in person because it looks, like they put a lot of work into it.
And to see it move, because that's a big part of the Skeksis character is the way that they move. And it would have been really great to see that costume in motion. I love the belt buckle. On this one.
The octopus.
Yeah, the octopus belt buckle.
And all those little buttons.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's a good example right there, the print fabric with the trim and the buttons and how it all comes together. Like sometimes, you know, you look at two different outfits and you don't know why you like one better than the other, but then you look at the details and it turns out that's a really big part of it, is the details.
Yeah, so often when I try and do things with details, it's like, oh yeah, I went way over. You know, it's like you go up to a certain point and it's like, it's just making it more elaborate and wonderful. And then it just becomes, no, pointlessly fussy. I go right to pointlessly fussy.
Now, I did really like this one, putting it together, because Jessica sent this to us with the voiceover and everything all timed out. And I think it really added to the presentation.
I will say I am spoiled in that my day job is doing programming at a
I've got
museum.
a question
have
for me
software
about someone who's worked in
Right.
Premiere Pro.
Yeah, between you and Randy.
Yeah, this is I had a
textiles.
question in the chat from someone who
Yeah, someone was saying they've worked in Premiere Pro. Do you know it? If so, I
we
assume
had
it's
a
Final Cut
question in the
Pro
chat
better.
asking. I haven't used Premiere a lot. I pretty much prefer Final Cut because that's what I initially learned on. And right now, that's just what I have on my home computer and is easily accessible for this.
And there's
I would like to learn Premiere just to expand my options a little bit, but right now it doesn't make sense for me to buy a whole new software and take the time learning it with everything else going on.
So one of the things about the Sarah costume, I've never worked with Warbla, but that's a material that a lot of cosplayers are using now.
About the lights in this video is just when they shot it, it's.
What was that, Carrie? You started to say something about.
Oh, just the use of Warbla, which is something I've not ever worked with, but the way that it's in the Ysera costume that you're using Warbla with everything else. You know, to get the right effects, and that's such a big part of costuming, is choosing the right materials for what you want for the effect that you want to portray.
Right. Another thing.
And Warbla didn't exist 20 years ago, you know, so it's not part of my toolbox right now.
Right. Another thing I was going to say about the Ysera costume is the makeup. I've done full body makeup. I've had a lot of friends do full body makeup, and it is hard to get it to work. If you just put a single color on, it just kind of washes you out and it doesn't look real. So you really have to work at the makeup, you know, to make it look good. And then think about, it's not just your face, it's your neck and then your hands and anywhere that it shows. And I don't know if the person in the Ysera costume had, because I think somewhere on the sleeves or on the arms, there was a part that was the same color as the skin. And I don't know if that was makeup or if that was a match to fabric. I've often done that and had friends do that, where if it's other body parts, you use fabric for those other body parts, but trying to match the fabric color to the makeup color can also be a big pain. So I thought they did a good job of that, because like I said, I don't know if they actually put makeup on the arm or if they were using fabric, because I thought it was a good match.
Yeah, I want to encourage people, if you want to try to do that stuff, like especially like Cordelia was saying, the makeup is so hard, but there are tricks. There are professional tricks and materials and tools out there, and having the right tool and knowing the tricks of the trade are so important. And that's something that we have now, that just do a Google search, go to YouTube for tutorials, just look for the tutorials, because cosplayers are some of the most generous people as far as talking about what they've learned and the tricks that they know. So if you have something you want to do, go out and do some searches and look for people who have tutorials on that, because they'll tell you the tricks, and it makes such a huge difference.
And if makeup is a big part of your costume, don't wait until the day you're putting it on to do your makeup. You need to like do at least one, if not several test runs to figure out, okay, how is it looking? What am I doing wrong? How can I make this better? Do I even have enough? You know, you don't want to suddenly run out and this part of your neck is suddenly not the right color skin because you've run out of makeup. And so definitely, even though it costs more to do the test runs, doing the test runs, it is part of the overall costume. And so it is important.
Yeah, somebody was saying it looked like it's airbrushed. I'm almost sure you can't, because I've done airbrush makeup, and you can't get it smooth as pretty as she had it unless you're airbrushing. And even then, though, like you said,
there's
several different colors. You've got to mix colors to get it to look 3D and correct.
Right.
But there's also finishing. There's like, you know, you put the makeup on, and then there's finishing. You know, there's materials that you can put on it to set the makeup so that it doesn't start smearing and running. But if you don't
I learned
know
that one the hard way. The very first time we airbrushed my friend's boyfriend for a costume, and like idiot, we tested it. We thought, but you know, we tested it, and he went and took a shower 10 minutes later,
immediately after.
And we didn't know about sealant because this was 20 years ago, and there weren't YouTube videos like there are now. And we went to a Halloween party, and he sweated it out of it, like off of everything, and all night long. And somebody was like, "Well, didn't you seal it?" And we're like, "What?
What's that?"
Well, I've never done makeup except a little bit of gray when I was being a statue. But an early MileHiCon, Susan Kreitz, who some of you may remember, maybe not, she came up from, I think she was in already at that point, and she was purple. And she wasn't going to be in the Masquerade, but I roped her into being in with a couple of other guys, and they put together a presentation. What I didn't know until later was what she used was not really makeup. She used food dye. And she was purple for a couple of weeks. I mean, she got paler. But luckily, the job she had, or maybe she wasn't working at the time, but she became, you know, less purple, lavender. But I mean, it's like, yeah, she had just completely smeared herself all over with food dye. She said, well, it was non-toxic. It's like, true.
It is non-toxic.
Yeah. Well, and one trick that I've often used for those of you on a budget, a good sealant, if you put on a lot of makeup and you are going to be outside and stuff, and you don't have sealant on hand, Aquanet is actually, you're spraying it on your skin, but you do not sweat it off. And then you can wash it off, you know, in the shower afterwards. But yeah, I actually travel with a thing of Aquanet with me. The only time I ever use it, but it's kind of my backup of, I'm worried about this makeup. I'm just going to spray it down and it's not going to move.
Weirdly, that's what I've always used to seal makeup, because every professional makeup sealer I've tried, I've had an allergic reaction to, but for whatever reason, the chemicals of Aquanet do not give me a gigantic rash.
Well, and Aquanet is also used by forensic scientists. So it's a good way to seal 3D shoe prints before you cast them, because again, it keeps things in place. So if you've got like a really loose clay, you know, and there's a shoe print in it, and you're worried that as soon as you try to pour, you know, this basically pancake batter of casting material on top of it, you're afraid it's going to totally, you know, come apart. You can actually lightly spray it several times with a layer of Aquanet, and it kind of seals it for you. So, and it literally, my forensics professor was like, don't buy any expensive stuff. The expensive hairspray doesn't work. buy Aquanet. It's $1.99 a can, and it's better than everything, and it's better than the professional forensic sealant that you can buy. It's actually, it was like, don't even bother buying the special forensic stuff. Just buy the Aquanet. So Aquanet, it's your all-purpose. You can work a crime scene and then rush a Masquerade all in one.
That's awesome.
Handy product. So.
Oh, I mean, someone was asking in the question and answer. They said, I think that in the chat, I think Aquanet is PVA. I'm not even sure what PVA means.
Oh, polyvinyl acrylic.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Professional Veterans Administration.
There we go.
Oh, polyvinyl acetate.
Oh, okay. Polyvinyl acetate.
It's a plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why it works well.
Yeah.
And then obviously why you're not having reactions to it, because it's Jessica, because it's not really designed for faces, but clearly it works.
Just don't huff it.
No,
Yeah,
God.
don't have it.
But we used to like, we would go outside and stand out like in the hotel courtyard, like
Oh,
spraying
yeah.
each other
Oh yeah, absolutely.
because it's just
Mm.
you can't do it in the room. So gross.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I'm getting the word that we're just about out of our official time, but if anybody wants to come on over to the Asgard Discord chat, you can do that. And I don't know if Will McCarthy is going to open up his virtual bar later. He might. But I hope everyone has enjoyed watching and participating. I mean, this has been a lot of fun for me. It's been lovely to see you, Cordelia, and
yeah.
Carrie and Jessica and everybody. And any last words, oh, esteemed judges?
Well, this was my first time ever judging a masquerade. So
wow.
thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to do so. I really
Kudos to
enjoyed it.
everyone for coming out and putting yourselves out there.
Yeah, all the entries were great.
Any last words, CJ? Our wonderful CJ, who did an amazing production.
Thank you. I'm just going to echo what everyone else is saying. Thank you to all the entries. You know, those were an amazing batch of costumes. It was a lot of fun getting to put it together and, you know, have those to look at while I was working. That's better than some of the boring stuff I do at my day job. And, you know, thank you to our judges, our other panelists, and to everyone who came and participated in the chat. This was a great night.
Yep. John Mart says, congratulations to all the participants. And I totally echo that. And Jessica, I know where to send your certificate. A couple other people still have to.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, Rose has
mail.
my address.
But again, just thanks to everybody. And I hope you enjoy the rest of MileHiCon.
All righty. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.